I'm Gerald Brown. I've been a police officer with the city of Grand Prairie for 33 years. Well, throughout the time being law enforcement, we all know we're involved in a lot of high-risk situations. One particular night, as I recall, was on Father's Day, June 15th of 2008, when an urgent call came out for domestic violence that was occurring at the Hillcrest apartment. It was a husband beating the wife and hit the 1-year-old with a formula can, and she was screaming and pleading for help. And that apartment complex was just immediately to my right and to the north. And so I rounded the corner, put myself on the call, pulled into the parking lot at Building 8, and I could hear from the parking lot the woman inside screaming and pleading for him to stop and screaming and pleading for help. I beat on the door and tried to get an answer because of the urgency from the pleas and the sounds inside. I wanted the perpetrator inside to know that the police are here. I wanted the victim to know the police are here. And so just as I was finished beating on the door opens and there's a man standing at the door and he's wanting to walk out. The pleading and screaming is still going on in the kitchen. So I extend my arm out briefly and I go, "Hold on, bud, stay right there." And I tried to do what we call a quick peek. Because of the door jam and looking inside, I could look toward the direction of the screaming and pleading. Just as soon as I started to do my quick peek, I got my clock cleaned. I seen stars. I got a barrage of punches to my face. And then as I fell to the ground, to the back of my head, and then to my upper back and the sides of my body. And I was in a 4-point stance with my knees and my hands, with the subject just wailing away at me. I couldn't see at this point. I didn't realize at the time, but I had, my eyebrow was split open, my lip was split about 3/4 of an inch all the way through, and there was just blood, like any other head injury, blood everywhere. I knew at that time it was either die or fight. And the only way to fight on all four is to get into a 3-point. And at the moment, my goal was to gut shoot him. That's the only chance I thought I had to live. I knew I was dead if I didn't do anything. I fought my way out of it. I nearly killed the guy. I was in the process of beating a guy to death because, "No, you did this to me. I'm not done." And then Mr. Bell touches me on the shoulder, snaps me out of that fury I was in, and I realize that it's over. I got these people. And just the feeling of seeing them and knowing that it is okay. This guy's okay, but now I'm gonna be okay because our firemen, paramedics are right there. They're within arm's reach. And then Officer Blessing shows up and we finish taking him into custody and he goes off to jail. I go to Dallas Methodist for my treatments, and Officer Guile shows up. She's the night shift officer, and she's looking at me like, "Oh my God," and I'm like, what? And she's like, "Oh, you poor thing." And poor thing, hell, I'm alive. I feel great. I feel good that I'm alive. The city was wonderful in making sure that I got the care I needed. We have a peer support team, even back then, for situations that come up that officers might have difficulty dealing with. Somehow you gotta understand what you're going through. My buddy Jeff, my buddy Mike Gudgel, who's deputy chief, now chief of police in Denison, they're all like, "Gerald, let's talk about this. I'm like, they were close to me, so I was comfortable talking about it with them. It still took a little while. You always have those doubts, you always have those questions, but as long as you have that peer support and you have somebody you can talk to and you're willing to talk to, is great. I would recommend that you really sit back, think of the reasons why you really want to be a law enforcement officer. You're gonna have to really look inside of yourself and see, can I face these obstacles? Do I have the resiliency in me to overcome these things? can I be criticized for my deficiencies and objectively make the necessary changes to fit in with the expectations of the department, the community, and the career. Yeah, I think my parents did an exceptional job preparing me to walk out into the adult world, and from that, it helped me excel in the advancements that I wanted to see myself take and meet my goals of doing things such as at this department, where out of my 33 years, my bucket list is complete. The thing that I find significant about resiliency is being able to overcome some of the significant emotional events or traumatic events that you might have experienced or seen for yourself, where you might have emotional problems of dealing with. Through identifying that, recognizing it, and coming to terms with it, the resiliency program is like a safety net. And our peer support team is like a safety net, where if you do have trouble and you can't work it out for yourself and overcome that, and for whatever reason you don't have a significant other that you can communicate effectively, understands what you're going through, because how could you understand what I'm going through? That program has people that have been trained and spun up on how to help, but taking away that stigma of, I went to see a shrink because I'm having difficulty. It's more like talking to a close personal friend with the right intentions in their heart to help you overcome those events that you're having difficulty with. And once you face those things, and once you understand what it was that led to that gave you that difficulty in overcoming, it makes you stronger inside.